Steam settled over the bathroom mirror. In the candlelight, May traced a name on the glass. The more she stared at it, the sicker she felt. When she couldn't take it anymore, she stepped out of the pile of wet clothes at her feet and eased into the hot bath. A flush shot through her body, all the way to her toes, and she watched the paint streaks running from her hands in faint trails of color. May thought of her sister and shut her eyes, trying to block out everything else. Small waves sloshed against the cracked sides of the tub, and she turned on the faucet so it was dripping, making ripples. There was a slight lift underneath her, that feeling of being raised by the water. She'd read once that you could rid yourself of pain by pretending you were floating outside your body. Or you could breathe into it, make yourself feel the edges of the pain, try to find the end of it. Inhale, exhale, inhale. May dunked her head and held herself down, needing to know what her sister had felt. She opened her eyes under the water and looked at the dark ceiling, at her hair floating out in wavy strands. Then over at the foggy mirror, the melting white candles by the sink, the rusting tub. That waterline above her, the surface so close with the promise of air. Her lungs were burning, but she forced herself to stay under, staring at the line of water like a horizon, her chest hot and tight. Ro was found on the shore, the tide at her legs. Her head bloody, with no other sign of struggle. Ro dead, and everyone blaming Cade Shaw. When her lungs were about to burst, May finally shot up for air, gulping it in. It was hard to drown yourself, maybe impossible, unless there was something or someone holding you down. She took in deep breaths as water coursed over her eyes. It was like being outside earlier that day, when she'd tried to capture the rainstorm on canvas. Painting was the one thing that helped her forget. Now that it was summer and school was out, she couldn't rely on the noise and bodies of the other kids to crowd out the dark thoughts. So she painted instead, kept her hands moving. If she had more friends, it might help. But she didn't want to answer questions about Ro, or go to parties with Elle and drink until she forgot. So today she'd set up her easel on the porch, while the rain had poured from the sky, loud enough to water down her thoughts into colors. The other way to get rid of pain was to shove it behind a door in your mind and hope it didn't leak out. May had assigned a door for all the memories that hurt. Black was the color of Ro's door. Her mother's was pale yellow. A red door held back her dad's anger. And her granddad's was white, the color of the milk and brandy she took to him when he couldn't sleep and couldn't find the words to ask for it. All the doors had faded to the back of her mind. All except for Ro's. The black door usually kept the memories from seeping through, which was a good thing. You could wish 1,000 times that something hadn't happened, but you couldn't undo it. You couldn't feel sorry for yourself either, because then you'd just rot, starting with your heart. May wasn't going to rot. She would paint until her fingers fell off before she did that. She'd keep the doors shut tight.